The invitation's open, and you know you want to join us. Again, she's not windy. Then have it your way. Ooh, I'm loving it. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at the Hasbro G.I.Joe Classified Series Scarlett. Remember back during the Roadblock review that I said that I was going to wait for the general release for Scarlett and Destro and just be happy and not go back to eBay and I don't need any more G.I. Joe? I'm weak. What can I say? Looking at the package, it's what we've seen with Duke, with Roadblock, the Blue, the G.I. Joe Classified Series Hasbro. That's the wrong jingle. Nice picture of comic Scarlett right here. Like I've said about the packaging, they picked a different artist for each character, so it's a little bit inconsistent when you line them all up, especially apparent here on the end. Scarlett kicking ass. On the back, here's the artwork that we've gotten used to at this point. It was debuted at Toy Fair. It's on the back of all the packages. Down here's warnings in all kinds of languages. Don't put it in your mouth. On the other side, what we've come to accept as their kind of updated file card. These are some kind of awards, achievements. Here's some kicking ass. Here's some arrows. She's number 5 in the series. On the top, essentially the same thing. On the bottom, legalese, barcode. Let's get Scarlett open and see what's going on here. In the package, her neck looks, and that's because it's turned sideways. You can see the hinge is facing to the right. So it looks odd here, but once I get it open, it should be an easy fix. And hopefully, knowing will be most of the battle. You pull it out and there's a lot of wasted space behind this packaging, but I like that they've accounted for larger characters. Roadblock's taller. Hopefully we'll get even bigger characters at some point in this line. Let go of my figure. And then the insert. Again, here's your file card type situation going on. And then the background, G.I. Joe star. Dun 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 dun. Actually, with the neck like that, you get a ton of tilt. But it's easy enough to just turn it into position. I think that's front. And getting Scarlett out of the package, I'm liking this as another addition to the Joe team. She has a lot of the advancements in articulation that the other figures do, but there's also a couple of frustrating spots. First up, it's a lot of what we're seeing with the 2020 G.I. Joe team. There's armor bits thrown on, kind of a classic inspired design. We have the Joe Pro up here with the blue and then the splash of red on her right shoulder like we usually see with Scarlett. The chest plate, you can see the armor design sculpted in, the seams coming down, just the bluish midriff with, again, seam lines. Is that a zipper? The blue carrying out to the shoulders, to the armored gauntlets, bringing in the yellow, bringing in the gold. Then we get kind of a fatigues look down here. Well, I say fatigues. It feels a little bit militaristic compared to the blue bodysuit coming down. It stops, and then there's pants over that. Well, I'm glad that popped up because you can see the button up at the top, the zipper. The sculpted detail is a little bit weird, but it's a nice contrast against the plain red out here. Comes down to the standard knee pads for the Joe team, the kick guards, the texture to the boot behind that, and the top here. Then down at the foot part, little armor, little armor, little armor, and then a red sole. The belt is a separate piece. I like it. It's got kind of a leather texture to it. It has the gold buckle. It's a closed off pouch hanging down on the left side. And on the back, it's the same pants texture with the dots. On the back of the boot, there's some kind of thruster here. I guess this may be a callback to the jetpacks, but I almost feel like that's some kind of propulsion. On the back, more armor design, more seams. There's blue on the back of the arms, more yellow. A hole, even though there's not a peg on the quiver, so I keep thinking accessory packs at some point. That would be awesome for G.I. Joe. The right shoulder is bare, but the left has this big armor pad. G.I. Joe star in the middle of a red field. It kind of turtle shellish, and that is part of the sculpt of the arm. There's no removing that unless you just Dremel the hell out of it. Your eye is drawn to it as soon as you see it. It gets in the way, but I'm kind of a sucker for asymmetry. And then up at the head, you have the shiny blue eyes, you have the freckles, you have the orangish reddish hair, earrings on both sides that kind of match her bodysuit. Nice application of paint all around. The eyes, I don't know if it's the hair hanging down, they seem a little bit crooked, but I love the metallic shimmer. I love the wetness of the lips, but I can't help thinking that she's maybe 17, 18? Way younger than I think of Scarlett. Her hair is a pretty good sculpt. I wish there was a little bit more contrast to bring out detail though. You can see some lightness to it right here, and then up here on the top of the ponytail, it gets way lighter. That doesn't do much to help the actual grooves in it. Don't get me wrong, you can see the details, it just feels plain. And I guess light. When I think of Scarlett, I think of a darker red color. Well, a scarlet color, actually. But maybe they wanted to see a different shade of red than right here and right here and right here. When it comes to this character, different iterations mostly have the same beats that make it undeniably Scarlett. The shuriken on the forearm, the blue-grayish color on the bodysuit or pants, the red hair. But for me, it's that spicy mustard yellow that's usually on her bodysuit somewhere. And they've integrated it into this design. It's on the chest plate, it's on the gauntlets, it's down at the boots, and that's along with the 2020 G.I.Joe gold that has to be on every figure. But in my brain, and even if you Google search it, I feel like the yellow should come down to the belt line at least. Classic-wise, it would be like a one-piece bathing suit on top of the gray bodysuit. It's not a deal breaker. The yellow is still there, but I've seen some digital repaints already, the figure's not even out, that, I don't know, it tones down all the colors. And as much as I can accept the armor bits, even this shoulder pad, it's all these colors used in unison that bugs me or sticks out at me. You have blues, which somebody pointed out, G.I.Joe blue lasers, Cobra red lasers. But the blue, the red, the gold, the gray, the her tumbling down to the ground. And it's not the toned down Duke gold. Well, hell, it's not even the Roadblock gold. This is another shade altogether. So just like the art on the packages, each character's gold is different from each other. I don't know why they didn't go with it consistent all the way across the board. If I had to pick a gold, I would go with Duke's because it's way more subtle than this just blah blam. And I'd even be okay with most of these colors being used. It's just that they're stacked on top of each other. Blue, gold, red, yellow, gray, blue, gold, gray, blue, yeah. Then there's bluish pins sticking through the red, sticking through the gray. That color matches up here. And also I didn't notice it on the other figures, but I put Scarlett in a high kick and I noticed the blue underneath, and the sculpt here is actually a rubber piece over plastic. And go ahead and get it out of the way, you savages. What are you doing to that action figure? I'm not quite sure why it's like that and why I didn't notice before this, but it's a neat little thing that they can add detail to. Well, I don't know. It's just another part. Also, the shoulder piece here that goes up into the collar, that's a separate piece too. And I guess since I'm being nitpicky, I'd like to see a ball joint at the ponytail because that kind of gets in the way, especially with the quiver back here. Whenever you look up, the ponytail kicks her back down. But speaking of articulation, there is a ball at the top of the neck with a hinge under that with a ball joint down behind the collar. So with all that, she can look up, neck kicks forward, hinge goes down, she can bury her chin, tilt, swivel. There's a butterfly joint at the shoulder, goes forward, goes back. Hinge on the outside of that goes, well, not quite 90. On the left side, a little bit less. And then of course swivels around. Hinge at the elbow goes up to, well, again, not quite 90. Same with the left. And then that rotates. Up and down hinge for the trigger finger hand, and then that swivels. Ball joint mid-torso, which is beautiful, but then there's also a ball joint down at the waist. Together, ooh, all kinds of motion. Drop down hip allows the leg to come forward, a little back, and then maybe again, because of the size of the figure, doesn't quite go all the way out. You can shift that leg back up. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee. Oh, that jet boot thingy gets in the way. Oh, but if you turn it and then turn her foot, bing, swivel at the boot, hinge at the ankle goes all the way back, not bad forward, and then forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, I talked about her quiver at the first. It straps around her shoulder. It has a knife sheath on the front, nice little stitch work to it. On the back, you can see her crossbow arrows. In order to put anything on her back over her head, you have to pull the head off because the ponytail gets in the way. And in the package, it came this way with the arrows down, which I'm okay with. The knives, which we'll look at in a second, go here, and then this knife is sheathed down. I've already had people ask if I'm going to try to turn this over. It doesn't work because the strap stays sculpted where it sits on top. It doesn't go down right here. But you can go over the left arm. Pop this down around her shoulder pad. And that does lay down. You have the arrow sticking up. She comes with two larger knives. It's got a serrated edge on the back. Those fit great in her hand, even the trigger finger. If you kind of hides it right there. Her left hand is much more suited to holding knives. But back on the quiver, you can see just a little sculpt of the knife sheaths on both sides. There's a hole that slides in there. Very tight fit. So even if you decide to strap the whole quiver like this, those are not falling out. And then she comes with another knife that's a little bit smaller. It doesn't have the serrated edge, but it has a little bit more grip detail. This one she's on the front. And this is my only problem with turning the quiver around this way. The knife kind of gets in the way. Like this, the knife is sticking down, but it still seems a bit odd, like out of place. It's in the way. Plus the ponytail hits on the knives back here. I've already said it several times, she comes with a crossbow. Nice little techie details all over it. It works for what it needs to be, her personal crossbow. For some reason though, it does come apart. And we've seen this with like Chewbacca's bowcaster. It may be because these are a little bit weak, and the first time I tried to stick the crossbow in her hand, that grip was very, very tight, so I've just been putting it in her hand, and then I can just snap the top on, and even this goes in back there. But for my intents and purposes and sanity, this, it's okay. I like the design. I like the use. I like that it holds her weapons, but boy, does it just jump around whenever you're posing and using it, and looks bulky and in the way. I already keep pushing this belt down every time I move her. Height-wise, Scarlett stands at 5 13/16, which works great with the rest of the Joes. When these were first revealed, I was a little bit nervous that the sizes wouldn't vary as much as I thought they should, but she's shorter than Snake Eyes, who is shorter than Duke, who is shorter than Roadblock. I am completely fine with this relative scale. Here she is with the Marvel Legends Deluxe Black Widow that just came out recently, and, well, again, the Walmart exclusive comic Gray Black Widow also came out just recently. Scarlett and all the Joes really fit better into the MCU Legends than the comic book. In fact, what does this do? I know that's not her hairstyle, but with Duke, I don't know, that scale's okay. I don't know. But this Gray Widow also comes with a jetpack, and it does fit on Scarlett's back. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get over that left shoulder pad, but it does work. Here she is with the Marvel Legends Jessica Jones and Shuri, and then an SH Figure Arts Black Widow and the Marvel Legends Endgame Captain America. And I don't know why I keep flipping her gauntlet to the inside. This one's easy to tell. Shuriken on the outside. This one, I get it flipped around and I can't tell until I actually go to bend it, and you get 45 degrees instead of 90. So at the end of the day, I'm completely happy to have Scarlett on the team, but it almost feels like from the waist down, it's a great action figure. From the waist up, it's a great action figure. You get to the arms though, and that's where it hinders a lot of stuff. And maybe the ponytail, it gets in the way. I've always said that the colors used on these figures is my biggest problem. I came around to the armor bits, but when it comes to, especially Scarlett, she seems to be the biggest offender here. It's like somebody took all these colors and just went blah, just put it all where they could. Every little groove, every little nook and cranny that they could, and just said, oh, yep, that's Scarlett, let's go. With Roadblock, who is version 2 inspired, all the colors that make him recognizable are there. Same with Duke, you have the tan shirt, the green pants. Snake Eyes, they knocked that one out of the park. And Scarlett, I love the concept here, I just don't love the colors. Or the head, I guess. G.I. High School. Everyone I've looked at before this, I've looked at it and thought, okay, yes, they updated some stuff, it's G.I.Joe 2020. I'm good with that. Scarlett may be the first that I actually break out the paints and go, this needs to be toned down a little bit. And I may be looking for a different head, just because when I think Scarlett, I think older. I think a little bit more sultry, a little bit more red-headed. I just think of Scarlett as a little bit more mature. And that sounds like I've griped about the figure for most of this review, but I'm good with a lot of it. And I'm good with more G.I. Joe. She just doesn't seem as playable as the rest of the figures in this line. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus if you want to see videos early or just in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh.